what's up you guys, and of course welcome to another alternative factuals video. I'm not entirely sure how long this video is going to be per se, but I don't think it's going to be too long because I just have a very basic explanation, or kind of just a very basic video. But before I dive into the concepts of this video, please be sure to like, share, and of course subscribe. Leave your comments down below, let me know what you're thinking, let me know what you're feeling, and without further and or possible ado, let's kind of just dive into today's video. So we already know that Black Lightning is still not on yet. It's supposed to come on, I think, in a couple weeks, but I still wanted to make a little Black Lightning video just because I feel like we deserve that. But I want to talk about Jennifer. Now, her new form, what we do know, like I said in the real world in the previous videos, is that China Anne McClain was not returning her role. We know this already. The new girl who supposedly came back is the same Jennifer with the same memories and the same experiences, but her body just looks different. And then in-canon explanation that they gave for her new form in the TV show was simply just that because her energy form had dispersed and they reconstituted her body from the energy, that basically her DNA had manifested in a different way based on whatever was in her gene pool, which obviously we do know that your gene pool can manifest many different physical traits, simply because if you have any siblings, there's a reason why not every sibling looks exactly like you. Your genes can manifest many different things, many different variations, because there's generations and generations of DNA that exist within our bodies as we speak. So that's relatively self-explanatory. Now, what I want to dive into is this new form might actually cause some sort of nerfing or temporary disablement of her abilities. Let me explain. So I'm not saying that her powers would never even come back or never get to regular levels, or I'm not even saying that it might not be already. Who's to say? This is kind of just a theory that I've been throwing around in my head for a little bit to see how you guys may feel about it. Now, we do know her body was transformed, and even though she herself was at some point pure energy, we do know once they coalesced her into a single humanoid being that has DNA, because her DNA technically did manifest differently, that DNA could possibly affect the way that her body chooses to manifest her abilities or manifest her powers, if at all. So what does this mean going forward? Now, because her DNA has changed, and even though Jennifer was transitioning into pure energy, she can shift between the two. So I think the biggest issue when it comes to her powers, at least, even with Black Lightning in the comics and her abilities, is that they can shift between human form and their energy form, which means they are more likely to experience, damage or changes to their DNA in their human form compared to obviously when they're in their energy form, because the only way you can affect energy is to move it from one place or another, because it simply cannot be destroyed. So that's something I kind of want to talk about in general, in terms of her abilities. Now, because they caught her because they coalesced her into a singular being, and her body chose to manifest her DNA or traits of her DNA differently, there's a possibility, or we can think or theorize that she might have some new powers. Maybe she might have some new powers, or maybe her powers might be temporarily taken off the board because of the fact that her body, in a sense, because her DNA has changed, it could affect her energy signature. They've said this in multiple episodes, all the way starting from the fact when her powers first started to initially kind of come into fruition from season 1, was that Black Lightning, her abilities and his abilities, they have a very specific signature because of the fact that 1, they're metahumans, and 2, even though they're energy-based beings, in a sense, their energy is not like general electricity or any kind of electricity that you kind of see kind of flowing through your house or flowing through cars or even anything along the electromagnetic spectrum. They're very vague and general forms of energy. But think of it like this: their energy kind of converts or kind of gives off a certain how do I describe it, kind of I won't say vibe, but they give off like a certain signature because their energy derives from DNA. And DNA is very, very specific towards a person. So if you're converting DNA into some form of energy, then yeah, it may be energy that can coexist with other forms of energy on that spectrum, absolutely. But their energy is native to them in their bodies because that is the originator and that is the source of where their energy is coming from. Well, in Black Lightning's case in a TV show, more or less he's absorbing ambient energy and then his body converts it to make it compatible with his body, and then he expels it again, which ultimately can change the color. And we've seen recently in the last few episodes since the beginning of the season that his powers have been, they've definitely been growing, and it's more associated with his anger than it is, you know, with anything else, like in terms of an outside factor where, you know, that internalized anger is causing his lightning to shift black, basically, where instead of that blue his lightning usually is turning into like this really dark purple, which is typically, you know, what his powers or how his name came to be at some point, you know, black light. Well, besides the fact that he was black, but you know, something that in the comics where his lightning was actually black, and it was a manifestation of his anger. And when he was angry, he was truly like at one of his most powerful forms, but that's besides the point. Ultimately, their energy is very specific to their DNA, and if Jennifer's DNA has truly come to, you know, manifest differently physically, who's to say that her powers are not different at all? Who's to say that maybe she's stronger, or who's to say that maybe she's weaker? And the show used this opportunity to realize that Jennifer is absurdly powerful, and maybe they won't do anything, you know. I'm not saying that they will, but this is just me speculating. This is a way that they can either make her more powerful, or this is a way that they can make her less powerful, or maybe they can show her manifesting different abilities because her DNA chose to manifest differently instead of, you know, manifesting in the typical way that we've seen her use her powers since season 1. Who's to say? But let me know what you think in the comments down below, like what you think about this concept, what you think about this idea of Jennifer's powers kind of manifesting differently since her body, since her DNA has shifted, since she's coalesced into her new human form. Let me know what you think, because I think it's entirely possible. I think it's, you know, plausible. I think it's a direction that the show could take. Actually, that would be very interesting, but unfortunately, due to the whole, you know, season coming to an end, I don't know if they'll totally explore that completely, because they don't have the time, and it's just too much to kind of dive into. Even though they were saying that you know, basically Jennifer, the character of Jennifer, or and Anissa basically were going to be in the Painkiller TV show, and I believe that the next episode that's coming up, they're supposed to be doing a pilot for that, so we'll see how that works out. But ultimately, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and if you're new to the channel, please be sure to like, share, and of course subscribe. Leave your comments down below, and I hope to see you later on. Peace out.